Bongo la, bongo cha cha cha, parlami del Sud America.
Let me see. Too soon for another promotion, I think.
Did you know that in 2D action game Infernax, after getting off the boat at the beginning of the game and killing the first enemy, you can turn around and go home? Hello and welcome to Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you things that you may not have known about your favourite games so that you can look really clever in front of Owen Wilson. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, and if you do, I'll send you a pack of magic beans. Oh, and before we get started, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Opera GX. Now, I'm guessing that most of you already Now, if you don't Opera GX. And thanks to Opera GX's quick import tool, all of your bookmarks, cookies and browsing history by clicking my link in the description. Time to say goodbye to slow and sluggish browsing, and hello to ultra fast, smooth as butter surfing. Once again, thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring today's video, and without further delay, let's get started. Right, let's begin today's video with Doom 3. In episode 101 of this series, we discovered that you could save a scientist in need, who would then go on to open a previously locked supply cabinet later in the level. But it turns out that not all civilians in Doom 3 are friendly like the scientist. After grabbing your gear at the security checkpoint, you can mess with the crane controls, which will cause this to happen.
Hey, don't touch that.
So touching the crane controls without the proper qualifications will result in a telling off. It's pretty funny. Up next is Deathloop. Now, having recently released on the Xbox, I decided to head back to Blackreef to see if there was anything I missed. Now, of course, we have covered a lot of Deathloop in this series before, with perhaps my personal favourite detail being the guitar player who gets better as the day goes on. Unfortunately, after playing the game on the Xbox, there wasn't really anything new to report. Though you can make Juliana mad if you don't enter the library at the beginning of the game.
What are you doing? Is this going to be a productive day or not? Library. Choppity fucking chop.
Now, I did wait outside for around 10 minutes or so, and this was the only dialogue I heard, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, I kind of wanted her to get really mad. Oh, and I'm also pretty certain this dialogue could be heard in the PlayStation version of the game too, so I must have missed it in my original playthrough. Next up is a game that is all kinds of wrong. Who's Your Daddy is an online multiplayer game where you play as either a baby or a dad. The baby's goal is to kill themselves, the dad's job is to stop that happening. Now, I know what you're thinking, why are you playing Who's Your Daddy? Well, the answer is, I'm not. my son Freddie is. He's obsessed with trying to learn how to play games using keyboard and mouse, and thinks that Who's Your Daddy is the perfect place to practice. Now, I thought that Who's Your Daddy was relatively kid-friendly. I mean, sure, the babies will do everything to end their lives, but if anything, that teaches Freddie the things that he shouldn't do. Well, if you head to the parents' bedroom and check the drawers, you can find this. So in the bottom drawer of the bedside cabinet, you can find some moisturiser, lubricant, a boatload of peanuts, and a strange rubber object. It's safe to say that Freddie will have to find their new game to practice his keyboard and mouse skills. Next up is the brilliantly disgusting The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Rebirth is a remake of the original Binding of Isaac, which itself is a randomly generated RPG shooter. So you may be wondering why I called the game disgusting. Well, have you seen the enemy design? Everything looks horrible, but kind of cool in equal measures. Now, even though randomness plays a large part in The Binding of Isaac, you can enter seeds to ensure that you start at a predetermined location. Not all seeds are meant to be taken seriously though. For example, if you enter Brown Snake as a seed name, this will happen. So wherever Isaac walks, a trail of poo will follow. Typing top heavy will activate big head mode. Entering Christmas will see Isaac wearing a nifty little Christmas hat. And finally, if you enter fart sounds, well, I'm sure you can guess what happens next. Next up is a game that I've been wanting to play for ages, but never got round to. Alien Isolation is a first-person survival horror game that sees you being hunted by a xenomorph. Now, in some Aliens games, the xenomorphs are nothing more than cannon fodder, slightly stronger enemies who could be dropped with a few well-placed shots. The Xeno in Alien Isolation is legitimately the scariest villain in any game I've ever played. The amount of times I had to remind myself to breathe as I hid under a table in-game with the alien just a few feet away from me was insane. The motion tracker, which is pretty handy, only adds to the fear. I mean, sure, it helps to know that something is moving, but when you don't know if that thing is below you, above you, or just around the corner, things get tense. Now, the first detail from Isolation actually involves the motion tracker. After meeting up with Dr. Coleman, he will head to a different room to open the elevator. Well, if you equip your motion tracker, you may notice that the good doctor isn't alone.
There. I'll collect my things and we can leave.
Now, the reason I find this so cool is that this is a scripted moment in the game, yet the alien still appears on the motion tracker. The chances are that many players wouldn't have had the motion tracker equipped here as they felt quote-unquote safe. But for cautious players who did equip the tracker, they probably knew that Coleman's days were numbered. The other detail I noticed when playing Isolation is brilliant. After landing on the Anissadora, you can find this. So these pipes had been deliberately designed to resemble the xenomorph. And in a dimly lit corridor, it would be easy to think that you've just stumbled upon two aliens waiting for your arrival. I really enjoyed what I've played of Isolation so far, so if you know of anything else that might be worth checking out, let me know in the comments. Right, let's end today's video with the Deadpool video game. Now, we covered the Deadpool game in episode 98 of this series, where we discovered that if you wait long enough at the main menu, Deadpool's poses and costumes would change. Well, today's Deadpool detail can be found during the mission where you have to save Rogue. During this mission, you can take a toilet break, and if you wait long enough, you can hear several funny lines of dialogue.
Hey, you fucking hear about the ex, babe, huh?
Oh, what? You mean Rogue?
Yeah.
You dicks hang out here often? Get it with the dicks.
Dude, seriously?
Pee song. I'm gonna sing the pee-pee song. Nice dick.
Haven't trained the old lizard since level 1. Dude, don't talk while I pee, alright?
Ah, that water is cold and deep. Yeah, I don't measure by length. I go by weight. Hey, blood in your pee's normal, right? It burns so good. Ah! I think I just passed a stone.
Oh, damn it, not the shoes.
Hey, buddy, want to give me a hand with this? It's kind of heavy.
Oh, not cool, man. Really?
Not one to judge, but why don't your drapes match the carpet?
Dude, don't look. I'm trying to go here.
Hey, covered wagon. Haven't seen one of those in years. Disgusting. You know, you get head cheese under there. You know, I had a friend who had 2 holes on it. Called him Dose. Hey, look at that, buddy. Ever see anything like that was still white?
Really?
Wow, that is a whole lot of piss.
Yeah, hey.
So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like is really appreciated. If you are a fan of Easter eggs, secrets, and hidden details in video games, then perhaps consider subscribing, as that's what this channel's all about. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.
I don't really know how to do the sort of prep stuff without it being somewhat intensive, because otherwise I just don't feel I have the confidence. I always imagine that I'm going to get to set and the director's going to go, I don't even like this scene, make it up. And I've got to be ready for that. And if I'm not ready for that, I feel very insecure arriving on the set. American Psycho.
New card. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice. Look at that.
Picked them up from the printers yesterday. Good coloring. That's bone.
Any scene we were doing every single day, I had the book by my side and I would read through it every single time, because Brett had just had so many wonderful descriptions. And I think that was why Mary and I clicked, was because when I first went and auditioned for her, I just went to her apartment and it was just her with a little camera. And I didn't approach it like she said the other actors had, where they were talking about what's his childhood, what's the reason he's become this. I was like, none of that really matters. He's just like this alien. And so as we were doing the scene, I started laughing and she started cracking up, and we both realized we had the same very sick sense of humor, and we were like, oh yeah, all right, this will work between us. She really put herself on the line, you know, and I so appreciate that, because she had so many known actors who were stepping up and wanted to do it, and she just said, no, I want Christian, even though all the financiers were saying, we're going to give you no money, and then actually kicked the two of us off. You know, we went and we did a stage reading in New York for it. Willem Dafoe was there, Chloe Sevigny was there, and Bret Easton Ellis was there, and then we got the money, yay! But what our agents forgot to do, our agents at the time, forgot to do, was to include us in the package. And so we raised the money and then they said, right, and the two of you, bye-bye. But I went a little bit psycho myself in that I just said, no, I'm still making the film. And even though other people were cast, other directors were on board, I just kept on prepping. And I would call Mary up and she would say, Christian, they've given it to other people. And I was like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. We're still going to make it. And she was like, ooh, he's lost the plot. And all my friends were saying that to me, like, what are you doing? And I was turning down. It wasn't like I was getting offered much, but, you know, a couple of projects, not very good ones, I turned them down and kept on going. And lo and behold, look at that. It did eventually come back. So that felt like a great victory. Don't doubt your gut instincts, you know, always listen, always be aware of the style that the director's looking for. But understand, you're always going to bring something unique from anybody else. When there still was the Wall Street trading floors and everything, I went and visited, you know, all different levels of people at Wall Street. But the guys on the trading floor, when I arrived there before making the film, I got there and a bunch of them, they were going, oh, Patrick Bateman, and patting me on the back and going, oh, yeah, we love him. And I was like, yeah, ironically, right? And they were like, what do you mean? So it was always worrying, even back then. But, you know, clearly, look, it's a satire on capitalism in the 80s, and as such is so bloody far-fetched and ridiculous that, you know, to me, I can't help but think it's hilarious.
Do you like Phil Collins? I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album, Duke.
I'm not going to ruin anyone's enjoyment and say that I'm not a huge fan and that they're not life-changing songs. Of course they are, for everyone, right? Come on, when you admit it. For me, music's so much a part of actually building characters as well. You know, like for Amsterdam, David and I were listening to and watching a lot of jazz documentaries, etc. And I use all sorts of different music to help me, you know, get into the mood when I'm working. Because emotion really comes through the ears, you know, something that you notice when you're in the edit room. You really see how you can see the visual, keep that the same, but change the music, and it absolutely changes the way you feel about it. So it's such a, you know, joy of life.
Get a goddamn job, Al. You got a negative attitude. That's what's stopping you.
I remember somebody threatening me on the street because some people did object to the film getting made and all that. And I remember people saying that they were going to do me harm and stuff like that, you know. And I would actually go like, I remember somebody warned me, must have been a friend of mine who was crazy early on the internet. And they warned me, they called me up and they went, there's some person and they know where you walk every single day and you go down this back alley and they say that they're going to jump on you and they're going to rip your cerebral cortex out of your head. So please don't go down that alley. So of course I was like, I'm going to that alley. I want to see what happens. And unfortunately, nothing. I kept walking up and down it going, where are they? Come on. What's... But nothing ever happened. Batman.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, what a weirdo, right? Jumping around town at night in a bat outfit. In many ways, in the same way that people were telling me, hey, you can't go play Patrick Bateman, it's career suicide. And I was like, bring it on. I definitely want to do that. Other people also said, hey, you know, if you play Batman, that's it. You're never going to play anything else again. You will always be Batman. And I went, bring it on. Let's see if that happens. Because I just always felt like, look, if I don't have the skill to be able to rise above that, then I don't deserve to either. I absolutely know and cherish the fact that that will be the role I'm probably remembered for most, you know, ever. He's an iconic, you know, larger than life role. But I don't view it really as, oh, being stopped in the street. For me, it was, I could pay off my house. That's a huge relief, you know. That was a dream of mine since being a kid. So I really appreciate that. I thank Chris Nolan no end for that, you know, the experience of actually working with him, of course, and we went on to make, you know, 4 films together. But the fact that that allowed me to make so many other films, you know, for instance, it took Mary a Herculean effort, which I so appreciate, to get me cast in American Psycho. Post-Batman, it got a little bit easier for directors to suggest me and financiers to say, okay, yeah, we'll take him. You've got the wounded child who never moved on from the atrocity and tragedy that happens to him when he loses his parents. And then the kind of monster that represents, you know, all his anger, and that he, you know, focuses into this character of the Batman. And then the kind of charade, which is the playboy, apparently vacant and that no one would ever suspect of having any beliefs or causes ever in his life. Most of my recollection of making Batman is sitting doing crosswords by myself in a blue tent with very uncomfortable stuff on because they wanted me ready in 15 minutes at any given go. So I was always sitting there and these things going, 4 down. Hello? Is anyone out there?
Come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Hit me.
Heath Ledger, who, oh my God, you know, what a performance. What a pleasure to have gotten to work with him and just to see him, you know, and how much he put himself into the Joker. And I was watching it going, yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. Are we in trouble here? Of when Chris and I first sat down, we said, you know what the problem with Batman is that the villains are always more interesting, right? And so Batman actually, he's very close to being a villain himself. So let's never let him become dull by comparison. And unfortunately, I was sitting there going, I'm feeling a little bit dull by comparison because Heath is just like killing this. And but I'm so proud of that film. I love it. The Dark Knight is absolutely extraordinary, you know, and it was such a pleasure to have gotten to work with Heath.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
You're garbage. You kills for money.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be.
He was a wonderful go-kart driver, racer. Yeah, we went and raced go-karts, and holy crap, he beat all the stunt guys and everything. He was quick. When we went to the track, we thought, of course, the stunt guys are going to win, and then suddenly Heath wins, gets top place, and then very quietly mentions, yeah, my dad was a go-kart racer. Very talented individual and a great soul to be around. Yeah, I miss him greatly. The Fighter. Dickie, he's such a character. Like, he makes his presence felt all the time. I mean, I spent so much time hanging out with Dickie beforehand and still in touch with Dickie Jr. Being in Lowell, hanging out with him, going walking around, getting kicked out of bars, having almost every cop stopping and going, hey, Dickie, and then telling me about a story about when they arrested him, going to the boxing gym, jumping in the ring and sparring with him. And oh my God, it's really quite something when you might think you can, I'll be a decent boxer. You spar with other amateurs and whatnot. I've done that a few times, but when you get in the ring with a pro, ooh, bloody hell. I remember one time he was sitting and he was reading the script and I was busy doing something else, and suddenly I see him like stand up and he starts walking over to David, like, and I could see, something had happened. And I went, wait, this ain't good. And jumped over and said, Dickie, what? And just kind of talked him down, because it was about sort of, hey, look, when you tell someone's story, you got to tell the good stuff and you got to tell the bad stuff, otherwise there ain't no story there at all. It was the first film that I've made with David, and so getting to understand his process more, and then he's kind of enhanced that as we've made more films together. And I loved it. I loved playing Dickie so much. There were hilarious things, and there was stuff to do with just sort of almost being shut down by the local cops and things like that. But to me, that's all part of the fun of it. The Machinist.
You okay?
Don't I look okay?
Brad, when I turned up, was really stunned at how much weight I'd lost. He went, oh, you really did it. Like, he didn't think I really was going to. That was just a outward show of his guilt and being eaten alive, literally, by guilt. I'd come off of making a couple of films that I'd been less than satisfied with, and just really wanted something where I could become immersed and obsessed with it. I remember at the time it was like not the smart thing to do, because there was no money in it, and it was like, oh, bloody hell, I'm going to lose my place where I'm living, and I was quite newly married and all that. So it wasn't the business smart thing to do, but I've never been smart in a business way. But it was something that I really wanted to challenge myself and kind of see, could I achieve that? Could I fulfill how I imagined the part of Trevor should be played, and testing myself.
Hey, perfect fit.
A lot of times, actually, I would sit there with headphones in, but I wasn't listening to anything. I was just pretending to listen so that I could actually hear everything that was going on, but nobody thought I could. Also, at the time, I was engaged in a very filthy habit of smoking, so I was rolling my own cigarettes and sitting there puffing away. I did read numerous things. I remember, because of the conversation with Brad, the director, I read Crime and Punishment, but then I was reading a lot of lighter fare as well. The main point was that somehow losing all the physical weight put all the energy into my brain, and so I only slept 2 hours a night, and all I wanted to do was read. And so I would just sit and read endlessly, and I found that I could read without stopping and needing to move or get a distraction. I could just sit and read for 10 hours straight without moving a muscle. Yeah, I can't do that now. The Big Short.
I've been very clear. People will withdraw their money.
George, that would be so stupid. I mean, if the fund's capitals drop too much, then the swap's contracts are voided, and then the banks get to keep all of the collateral.
Wait a minute. Wait.
All of it.
What? The contracts are voided? The contracts are voided?
I had a wonderful day where we sat in his darkened office together and just chatted, and they'd scheduled all these things for us to go out and about and do different stuff, and we ended up doing none of that because we just enjoyed talking with each other so much and had just an extraordinary day. And he was so helpful, and then he came to visit the set, and then we keep in touch from time to time, and he's an extraordinarily special guy, and wow, what a role. And also my first time working with Adam, which I just loved. He's something else. He's like with David. When you get really great directors, they're very unique in the way that they work. Anyone who plays drums can look and go, Christian doesn't play drums. But that, to me, was not the point. The point was not that Michael Burry was a shit-hot drummer. It was that he took his anger out on these drums. And I did. I was just shattering the drumsticks. They were flying across. The crew had to all put shields up because so many of them were flying at speed. Everybody. I love to get to interview people. I love to get to really study them in an obsessive way that you wouldn't get to usually. That's part of the joy of the job for me. Advice.
I sense that you're a kinetic leader. You make decisions based on instinct.
I am. People always said that.
Yeah. Very different from your father in that regard.
All right, let's dig a bit deeper and go do the very unlikely thing of me play Dick Cheney, which I was like, what? Adam, are you hi? Usually they don't allow special effects makeup artists that much time to prep, but I said, no way, we've got to have, months and months and months to get anywhere close to something that can work here, because it's the movement, Thank God, we had people who were patient enough with me to just kind of keep going and keep going and keep going until eventually going, all right, I think we're in the realm. A wonderful experience working, with Adam. He uses a mic and will kind of just chuck out lines and chuck out ideas and try saying this instead. Not improvising, but suggesting lines and nudging you in the right direction. But you got to be prepared to pivot and be on your toes. Even though Cheney's very not somebody who you would think of as being on his toes. He's very much like flat-footed. But yeah, no, really enjoyed the immersion that took, even though it was like the 4 hours in the chair and whatnot. I had never believed that it could be possible that I could play him, and to give it a shot is it was a wonderful risk.
You have authorization to shoot down any aircraft deemed a threat.
Presidential authority?
That is correct. All orders are Unidir.
Unidir, sir?
Unless otherwise directed.
Mr. Vice President, are we sure these are the proper rules of engagement?
The country is under attack. The ROE is fluid.
Well, he was very brilliant, He is. He is a brilliant man, Whether you agree with what his intent was and is, there's absolute brilliance and intelligence there. He rose incredibly quickly for good reason. He understood the machinery of politics better than anyone else did, and so he could manipulate that. And for someone who was absolutely awful at like retail politics, he had no interest in kissing babies or whatever. He was very interested in the true mechanics of power and how that works, and there's nobody better at it than him. Empire of the Sun. Man, what an adventure. Yeah, it was something else. I got to not go to school and travel about by myself. And I had no idea just how unique that experience was at the time, because I didn't realize that every film didn't build a bloody runway that planes could land on in the middle of a marshland in Spain, or build a pagoda, or build huge hospitals, or build literally half a full-size stadium out there. I didn't realize every film didn't travel to China and have 10,000 extras up and down the bund. It wasn't until later, when I was on much smaller films, I went, oh yeah, that was a big one. Which I think was great in that way, because I didn't really feel any pressure, and at that age I didn't really feel like an actual film was going to come out of it at the end. I was just in the moment doing it. Animals and children are the best actors. You can't compete with them, and the reason is because they don't give a shit about the consequences. And in many ways that was how I felt when I was making Empire of the Sun. Not through any intentional thing, it just didn't even enter my mind.
B-29s?
Yep, the Super Fortress, what we call a hemisphere defense weapon.
Where from?
Okinawa, Philippines. Tokyo is in bombing range now.
Tokyo?
Tell them to think of going home soon.
There's a great purity to just playing a role, and that's it, because every kid does it. Every kid. I still consider that I play dress up for a living, and kids do that naturally. It only gets spoiled when adults come in and ruin it by bringing money and expectations and you should do more, etc. That's when things go wrong. I never felt that while I was filming. There were times, because I left my family, etc. They weren't able to come with me, so I'd be like in the airport, crying my eyes out, going, I don't want to go. But when I got there, man, I was loving it and I was enjoying it no end. But then it was when I started doing the press, I didn't get that. I couldn't understand that. And I didn't understand why I had to keep talking about the same thing all day long. And I was starting to go insane, and then people follow me around or whatever. And so that was when I went, oh no, this isn't for me. But I always focused on going, yeah, but I really did love doing it itself. So let's try to figure it out so I can deal with this part of it and not have to stop doing the bit that I really do enjoy. There's a price for everything, and it's once you get your head around it, it's a very small price to pay for getting to tell stories. And I recognise, and I'm so grateful for what I do get to do. Amsterdam.
How can I know this is you really in the picture?
Yes, sir. So, well, I'm the doctor. She's the nurse. He's the attorney. We all met in Belgium, which, if you recall, is where we met for the first time.
To Bert's someone who's in experimental medicine. And likewise, so with his brace, you know, it's something that he hates, but he can't be without because he's got such terrible injuries, you know, to his back and his spine and everything like that. So, no, I just kept on all the time because also you see it through the suit, you know? It's kind of like two little bumps of the metal sticking out, you know, and if I can avoid acting, I do avoid acting. Like, if you can just really do it and be uncomfortable, why bother pretending to be uncomfortable? Just be uncomfortable. It was a practical thing because, you know, these were very rudimentary back braces, not like anything that you would get today. These were things that he had kind of made himself in the same way that he's working on creating medicine that can help these returning war vets who weren't given a damn bit of help. You know, they were meant to be returning heroes, and absolutely nobody treated them like that. It was despicable. And who were all suffering from PTSD, but nobody recognized that at all, and these terrible, terrible injuries, but didn't have the right painkillers or anxiety pills or whatever. David and I, we wanted to create characters that we loved, that we wanted to hang out with, characters that just refused to be beaten down by life despite everything that life had thrown at them, that they remained optimistic, refused to be cynical whatsoever. Eyebrows up was kind of our mantra. Where is my eye, Harold?
Right here.
Yes.
You leave me here with this invalid when you know very well that I think she should be hospitalized. It's for her own good.
I do remember that both of them looked a bit shell-shocked on the very first day of work because they hadn't worked with David before. We'll film the script, but then he will just throw different lines at people, or he'll just change the lines. No, don't you say that. You're going to say that now. And he'll be laying on the floor underneath here, and then he'll crawl during the scene over there, and then he'll be up behind the camera over here, and then he'll just say, change everything and go do that. And I love it. But David would occasionally come to me when he saw someone was just sort of looking like a deer caught in headlights and say, oh, can you go be the ambassador and just explain how we're going to do this? And then everyone got into it, and then it's really joyful and just a very, very satisfying experience. And Margot and JD just embraced it. You know, and then I would go off and, you know, I'd telephone him and go, I sound like a stalker, but I'd be like, there's a dude I'm following down the street. Oh my God, he's fantastic. I'm going to use this for Bernie. He's like, great. And then I'd tell him that. Mannerisms from different people, attitudes, you know, it was all kind of very baked in and over years. So what's wonderful about that is that by the time you're actually filming, it's really in your bones. Pale Blue Eye. There's so many good actors. I tell you, lately I've been so blessed with the different amount of talented actors I've gotten to work with. And so it was a real pleasure to work with all them. But let me just focus on one, and that would be Harry Melling, because Harry is just a really superb actor. And so I just enjoyed any day that we got to do scenes together. Scott Cooper and I have worked together now. This is our third film. I love working with Scott, and this was something that we've been talking about since like 2012 that he had been putting together. He is prolific beyond belief in terms of his writing. He went and did different things. I went and did different things. But just the period of it, the gothic sort of crime nature of it, the sort of fun origin story of Edgar Allan Poe and what might have made him into such a master of the macabre, and why he was so comfortable and enjoyed that way of thinking, and trying to think about, okay, well, what let's create a character that could have inspired all of that, and that also keeps in the vein of an Edgar Allan Poe story itself as well. So, and I think Scott's done a superb job again with that.
Calm down.
You shall die. Now you meet your end.
I am the storm that is approaching.
星としよし。おお。ななななんななななんキラ別の天中宙に分け与えられた楽園エデン。私断罪の公女は
岩山八九天道万象。はっはっふんはっ甘い。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。
花火にやっおっとキャッキーはっやっ祭りの開始や。
消えるんだ。
剣女盤石。すきやっはっ
気ぃつけるぜ。ほなやっキャッキーふっさ
難攻不落。
せ
天道ここにある。はっふっ岩山八九。難攻不落。
花火にやっ
ベニー冒険団。
火の用心
天理チョーク。全力攻撃。風ととも
気ぃつけるぜ
剣女盤石。
火の用心
岩山八九。天道ここにある。ふっふっ隙あり。ふっ
花火にやっさあ
みんながそばにいてくれる。またかわせなかった。
気ぃつけるぜ。
難攻不落。
風と共に去れ。
花火にやっさあキャッチふっせっへいやはっへいさあキャッチ
剣女盤石、天理チョーク。はっやっ難攻不落。すきあり甘い。はっすきありやっすきあり甘い。岩山八九いざ。いざ。燃えろ。みんなは俺が守れ。
せっおっとはっやっやっていくでへっせっへいやそりゃへっ祭りの開始や。
はっすきあり。天道ここにあり。剣女盤石。たっはっ
火の用心へっはっやっそりゃふっほな
くらえ。みんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。燃えろ。へっせいやくらえ。へっほっ
風と共に去れ。
Good fucking morning, boys. How can I say the same thing over and 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 over? Bada bing, bada boom, bing, bing, boom, bing, 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 bada boom, bada bing, 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 boom, boom, bada bing, bada boom. What does the foursome do? Bing, bing, boom. I love the foursome do. Bing, bing, we'll see. The winner gets tea. We'll see. The winner gets tea. Shit in my asshole. My ass, shit in my asshole. That's my coffee machine. Sound like your mom's dildo. Alright, take a snooze. Because if you don't snooze, tell them, Chad. That's right, you motherfucking lose. Does anyone remember water? Or as Bruce Lee would say, what? Harry Potter, Harry Potter. Why are you running? Who's on the server? You mad, bro? I would be mad. I would be fucking pissed. Previously on Lost. No one has 140 IQ like me. Not Stan Maddox and Sammy 1G. Permaban. Specimen. No, I don't think so. Oh my god! Oh! That's my coffee machine. Sound like your mom's dildo. Is that your mom, Chad? My life is potato. All I dream about is potato. My name is Sven Snusberg. Rush me. No Russians, Paul. Hello? Lena? Owners? Hold your horses. Each one of you take a shot in my asshole. You guys need to relax. I do like fucking up little kids. Sort of God of War fake news.
Arriving at Watchpoint Gibraltar.
I'll find my own path. Thanks.
We've got this.
Understood. Need healing.
Come to me for heals.
The breeze brings relief.
Done playing around.
Activate the EMP.
Under my protection. Done playing around.
I can hear you. Like a gentle rain.
Appreciate it. Try again. The Kitsune is ready to be unleashed. Let the Kitsune guide you. Done playing around.
Eva online.
Payload stuck. Get it moving. Dutch Bison.
Entering Q zone. Prepare to attack. Select your
Amid discord, we will find tranquility.
Plan to win, or expect to lose.
I have always wondered what it is like being inside an orb. He says, don't even think about it. The hamster has a message for your fox.
That's not how it works.
The mammal is disappointed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commencing.
Must accept the pain.
Careful, we're outnumbered.
Overconfidence is a flimsy shield. It takes two hands. magnificent. Your spirits liquid.
Focus up and move the payload.
Let us push the payload forward. Repetition is the path. Payload is at a standstill.
Sniper!
Behold once more. Join me. Group up here. Unerring precision. We must unblock the payload. Here is an enemy. Pain is an excellent teacher.
2266.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
Traveling to Nepal. Prepare for battle. Select your hero.
I believe that Torbjörn's behavior has rubbed off on you.
So, I might sometimes pop out of thin air right next to you. Do not shoot me.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective. the Kitsune guide you! Score 1-0.
Let's attack the enemy from the front and take them by surprise. You hear that? Bastion agrees with me.